Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Well, obviously, thanks for clicking the link. If you've clicked the link, obviously you're inquisitive to see what's going on. Quick overview. Why am I recording this? Okay. I will first start off by saying this is totally on the fly. It's live. It's a one shot. I'm not going to pause it. It's recorded. Like I say, there's no script. I'm just thinking from here and I'm saying it from here. So how it's come about is that over the last few days, a week or so, obviously been receiving feedback from Facebook groups, the Community Association group, and other groups on Facebook. Also, I've received some personal messages about this actual issue. And on Thursday of last week, we had a community association meeting with committee members, and again, it was brought up there that the perception or the feedback from residents is that completing this online consultation for Regulation 19 is going to be a bit challenging for some people, which I absolutely agree. It is not user friendly. I'm class myself as being fairly computer literate. You know what I mean? I know my way around a computer. I understand how websites and that kind of stuff work. And even certain times within this portal, I have to think, what have I got to do here? Because it's not user friendly. That's for certain. It's not user friendly. But please, you've got to rise above that. As I've said many times, the process within consultations within local governments and councils, it's there to put up hurdles. Yeah, they want you to jump the hurdles, and that's all this is. It's just another hurdle that we've got to jump. So please don't get disheartened by it, but I can't stress this enough. It is really important, and it doesn't matter what comments you put in there. It's about doing something and seeing a name by the side of a comment, and that's what we want the inspector to see, because this local plan where we are now under this Regulation 19 is the last chance saloon at this point, because basically the housing secretary, once this consultation closes, which is September the 14th, isn't it, they will assign a independent planning inspectorate to carry out a public inquiry and to basically look at Stoke-on-Trent City Council and how they've produced this local plan. And he's looking at the effectiveness of it, the soundness of it, the viability of it, all these sort of buzz developing words that they always use in planning and all this kind of stuff. So we've got to challenge this plan, and we've got to make the inspector to come and look at us. And when I say us, I'm referring to site H58. We've got to draw him in for him to say, what on earth's going on here? Look at the responses I've got for site H58. All these people can't be wrong. And again, fantastic results so far on the petition, and the petition is a really important part. So a lot of people, or a lot of residents, should I say, you really don't know what's going on in the background regarding the community association. And as a group of people and residents, we are beavering away. Trust me, we are trying to do the best as we can. Yeah, and we're only residents. We have no powers. Yeah, all we've got is the power of speech and free. Yeah, and free speech. We can say what we want against this plan, and as long as it's constructive and it's material considerations, they've got to look at it. They can't simply just brush it under the table. They've got to look at it, and that's why it is so important. So I'm sure we'll be in excess of 1,500 signatures on that petition by the time this consultation finishes, which again I think is September the 14th. So What I'm going to do, I'm going to and again, I am no expert in this. This is just my interpretation. The council have produced a guide document to explain, but again, it's not easy reading. And again, I think this is another shortcoming, and this was identified under Regulation 18. And I actually contacted the council and suggested that on any other consultations going forward, it would be more beneficial for them to produce their own video explaining how people carry out and how they complete this online consultation, because the way that they've done their little sort of recommendation help file, it isn't that helpful, to be honest. It's not pleasant reading again. But anyway, so that's what I'm here to do. I'm trying to help everybody to submit something on this consultation. Yeah, and that's the important bit. Okay? So, this is the Standard Council website, which, if you haven't got it saved in one of your favourites, is www.stoke.gov.uk. That takes you to this webpage. So now, if you're on Patmore Facebook group or the Community Association Facebook group or there is links already on there to take you directly to the consultation. But if you haven't got access to Facebook, and for that very reason, this is why this video will be going up onto YouTube. The reason why is because then you don't have to be a member of any sort of online social site. As long as somebody shares that link with you, you can watch it on any device. It doesn't matter whether it's your phone, whether it's your PC, your laptop, it doesn't matter. YouTube will play on it. So at least you can, again, see how to do this. Now, again, I will stress this, that, again, this particular website, it's really optimized to sort of complete it on a larger screen device. Trying to do it on a phone, whilst not impossible, I would think it would be quite challenging to do it on a small screen. So you really need either a tablet, a laptop, or a PC, or a desktop PC, or an Apple device, whatever you've got. But like I say, and if again, like I say, I do know my way around a computer. If I look at the coding behind this thing, it isn't optimized for mobile devices. That's for definite. So just bear that in mind. Okay. So if you go this way, you haven't got any link. Simply, if you type in here, local plan, and you can see Regulation 19, and we search for it. Okay. The second line down here, have your say. So if we click onto that, that takes you to the specific page that the council have now set up for the local plan. Again, it tells you all about it. This is the guidance notes that I was talking about, but like I say, it's not easy reading, and this takes you to the physical portal. Now, the important thing here is, if even after all this you feel that you either haven't got the ability to do it because of you haven't got a computer, or you haven't got a phone, or you're just not computer literate or IT illiterate, which is fine. Everybody's different. There's different demographics out there. Yeah, there's no way my mum and dad would be able to complete this. I know that for certain. So I appreciate that. And again, the council have got the address here. This is the address that you would literally do it the old-fashioned way, and you need to submit your letter in there. Okay. Also, it mentions the drop-in sessions, which is really important, and the dates of all the drop-in sessions are here. And the important date for us, for Patmore, as you can see here, Thursday the 27th of August. Okay, so it's the 22nd today. So this Thursday, if you can attend and you've got any questions, I believe that the council officers and potential senior management team to do with housing and all that kind of stuff, infrastructure, will be there. The chances of somebody from the physical administration, the council, being there, whether that's Jane Ashworth or any of the cabinet members, Gordon Findlay McCusker or Councillor Walker, attending, I would say would be absolutely bob hope. They ain't going to come. And the same would probably go for our MP, Mr. Williams. I can't. If they do turn up, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. But the chances are, I would say, would be very, very remote. So, going back up to the page then. So we click on the consultation portal. Okay. And that loads this page. Okay. So, this is the important part. Now, if you look at here, obviously, these other consultations that have taken place in the past, as you can see, clearly all state closed. The only one that we're interested in is this one here, which is Regulation 19, and you can clearly see it's got 24 days remaining. Okay, and obviously we've got the closure day here. So, this is an important part. You must first log in or register. So, if you took part in any of these previous consultations, and the most common one that you probably would have taken part in was Regulation 18. So this was back in September, October 2025. If you submitted comments on that, you've already registered. So what you need to do is log in with, now if you're using, and you've got the option clicked on your device to save your passwords, if you try and log in, it should automatically populate the boxes and log you straight in. If it doesn't, if you know that you did register and you've already been in before, but your boxes aren't populated, you'll have to remember what your password and what your username was before you can log in. If you've never done it, then you must register. And registering is really, really simple. Okay, so you've got the boxes. You just literally, as it says, you create your username, whatever you want to do. You put your first name in, your name, your password that you want to use. Now, this is an important part that you would do. You don't, unless you are an organisation. So, for example, as a community organisation, the Great Cheltenham Patmore, we would tick this because we're going to be submitting that as a global representation for Patmore. Or again, if you are an agent, so if you are representing somebody who's infirm or can't complete this and you're doing it on their behalf, you would tick one of these boxes. Okay, but ultimately there's no reason for you to tick here. You would tick this box, you would tick this box, and you would register. Once you've done that registration, you will get a confirmation back to the email address that you provided, and you click that link, and at that point you're active. So let me just go back. So we're back into here. So I'm now going to log in. So again, if you use social media or a Google account, it will ask you, do you want to use these details that you've already got? So you just use your Facebook, okay, and you'd log in. If you forgot your password, if you click that, it will then send a reset link to your registered email address. So like I say, again, you must have an email address to take part in this. If you haven't got an email address, you can't, well, I'm not saying you can't, you've got to create an email account on Google or whatever to get that in. Okay, so I'm going to log in with obviously my settings. So as you can see in the top corner here, this is the important bit. You must be logged in. If you're not logged in, you will not be able, the option to add comments and leave feedback won't be available to you. So you can browse, you can go to the event and you can browse as much as you want without logging in. But if you want to submit, you have to log in. So this is the actual consultation here. This is the plan. Okay, and obviously they've split it down into this area here. Everything whenever you see a red flag by the side of it, okay, that means you can leave a comment in any one of them sections, which if you look throughout, really, it's the whole document. Now, under Regulation 18, there were certain sections where you couldn't comment because it didn't have that tab on. But on this one, you can comment on virtually everything by the looks of it, how I'm seeing it anyway. So, one thing that you probably want to see is when you want a visual of what we're talking about regarding the plan, an important part is the policy map. So if we click on this, okay, okay, can you see here again? They don't make it obvious. They don't make it obvious. You've just clicked on to see. I've just clicked on something. Let's do it again. You are clicking on, I want to see a policy map. Okay. And now it's appeared. Okay. So, but as you can see, it's not particularly very big. What they've done is taken sections out. They explain. So each one of these, when it's H, means it's housing, okay, and when it's got an E on, it means it's for employment, okay, E, employment. M is for mixed use, which basically means housing and employment. And the same again prays for, I think BL is it, broad locations, which basically means, again, it could be housing, it could be employment, but it's more about something that they're more thinking in the future, more than, let's say, medium to long-term strategy, more than medium to short-term planning. And there you go, there are your broad locations. But to physically get the full map, okay, you must click on this little tab here where it says policy map. Okay, if we click on that, it will actually take you to a completely new website. You've got to scroll to the bottom and click close. Once you've got there, if you use your wheel on your mouse, or you can zoom in here on the plus and the minus, okay, it will start to zoom in on the whole city. What you must do is go to your map features, and if you click on site allocations, as you can see, they now appear. So you can see the whole city here. Here's Patmore, H58. Okay. And again, you can zoom out and you can see the allocation for the whole city. Now, as we've already stated, and again, if you want to potentially use this as an argument, okay, let's just look at the development of this map. And one thing that absolutely screams out at you is, which I use this analogy and when I was on Radio Stoke, I can't remember when it was, last year, and I use the analogy that this local plan is just the polo effect. Yeah, it's hollow in the middle and it's all on the outside. There's nothing in the middle, is there? And if you look at this plan, this is exactly what it's about. All the development is on the fringes of the city. There's not a lot happening in the middle, in the towns or the cities. Yeah? So, as I've said before, we all drive through Tunstall, Burslem, Fenton, Longton, Hanley, yeah? And we all know what them places currently look like. They've been neglected, they've been abandoned, they've been ignored for years and years and years and years, for many reasons, which I'm not going to go down to them reasons, that's not the object, okay? But this is a chance for this administration to do something about it, because don't forget, we are planning till 2040 here, yeah? So we've got 15 years, well, 14 years remaining now of this plan, if it gets adopted, yeah? What are these areas going to be like in another 14, 15 years from now? Looking at how they are today, what are they going to be like? Because this plan doesn't address anything to do with that. It's all focus on green space, green belt, yeah, the fringes, right on the borders. Yeah, because they're not. It's too much of a problem. Yeah, it's too hard to tackle the inner cities and the inner towns. It's so much easier to bulldoze over green fields and green belt, yeah, to achieve these overinflated housing numbers, and that's what they are. Yeah. So I'm not suggesting that you put them as a comment, but that's just an example of the kind of thing that you need to put into your own words. Okay, so that's your policy map. You can select various, obviously these are the wards as regarding, as we know, Great Chal and Patmore, if you ever wanted to know the boundaries. So, as you say, this is the ward here for Great Chal and Patmore, which we have 2 councillors assigned, Councillor Mountford and Councillor Ackert, and so on and so on. And if you look at Milton and Badley Green and Norton, because of the size of that, obviously allocates quite a big ward, they've got 3 councillors assigned. Some areas only have 1 councillor because it's a smaller ward, and so on. So if you didn't know about that, that's there. So you can select these different options and you can have whatever you want presented on. So again, if you look at the actual recognised green belt areas in the city, okay, and what you've got to do, if we then obviously put on site allocations, you can clearly see how this council are attacking green belt and green land. Anyway, so I'm not going to dwell on that. So I was going to go back to the consultation now, which, where are we now? Let's go back into the event. Okay. We'll leave that running there. So now what you can also do, this is different on regulation 19 compared to 18. I don't fully understand why, but on 18, individuals of the city, the residents, or the public, we could not see how many people responded and what sort of comments were left. Now, on 19, they've given us that option, which is really important. So again, if you're struggling to think, well, I'm struggling to put this into words, the end of the day, we could write standard letters or standard responses, but really, is that what the inspector wants? Does he want to see 100 responses all made of the same template? I don't think he does, and I don't think it would carry the same weight. I think you're much better if you can frame something, a comment, an observation, a piece of evidence, with your own words. And I will stress this now. The council and the inspectorate are not interested in grammar, the way you construct a sentence, a paragraph. They're not interested in that. Yeah, they are not interested. What they're interested in is, let's just say, the passion that comes from your own words. Yeah, and if you can make that, if you can translate that into something recognizable, it carries weight. So please don't be put off. If you're not the best speller in the world, use a spell checker. It doesn't matter. Google will help you, that's for certain. Copy and paste and ask Google to sort of make it better, and it will for you. Yeah. So please don't let that be a hurdle for you not taking part. But if the contents of your comments comes from you, and let's say comes from the heart, how you actually feel, but as long as it is subjective, it's got to be challenging. It can't be emotions. The inspector will not be interested in your emotion. For you to say, oh, it's going to roil the area because it's going to spoil my view, yeah, and my house prices are going to plummet. That's an emotion. He's not really bothered about that. He's looking at challenging the plan based on viability, sustainability, soundness. Yeah, these sort of things is what he's looking at. So, if we click on what people said, okay, if you go on to the submission, okay, you can see here now there's a total of 259 submissions so far on this local plan. And we've still got 3 weeks, just over 3 weeks remaining. So, you know what I mean? It's rocking up there. Now, what I'm saying to you is of that 259, I don't know at this stage how many of these people are Patmore have raised issues regarding size H58. I don't know at this stage. Don't really need to know. But all I'm saying to you is obviously I can go down this list and I can see names that I'm familiar with, and I think, oh, wonder what that's about. So if you go on to, and again, if you look here, what this denotes here is each one here. So it says Reg 19.1, 2, it's incremental, it's going up. So there's basically 25 per page. So each line here represents a input. And if you look at this one here, Mr. James Dudley Evans, whoever you are, but well done, you know what I mean? He's actually submitted 12 separate comments, yeah, within this. And if you go across, it loads the next page and so on and so on. Okay? So, and each one, as you look, is rolling up incremental. So if we go to the very last, there you go, as you can see, so the last one is 200, and there's 259. So again, you can see we're now up to 265 represented comments or individuals have taken part in the plan so far. You can put it into sections. So again, now, as you can clearly see, absolutely, look at that. So you can see here, so of them 269, 229 are all concerned about housing distribution. And there's a surprise. Yeah, there's a surprise, isn't it? Not. So, yeah, and as you can see here, these ones here, so affordable housing mix, there's been 3 submissions on that. Housing requirement, the 6. So this is obviously a big one. So if you click on that now, okay, it will now break it down and show you exactly who they are, the dates they was put on. Now, as an example, if we look at this one here, okay, if you look here, we've got a little eyeball. If you click on that, you can actually preview and have a look what he is talking about. Okay, so I'm not saying copy and paste. Please do not copy and paste. But if you're struggling to sort of put your feelings, what you're thinking, your concerns into words, then just have a look at what other people are doing. And it may well just help you to construct a brief sentence, a paragraph, so you can put it in your own words. Yeah, but you can see exactly how he's done it and what section he's submitted it under. Yeah, so again, if you want to go through this list and use these for guidance, I think they can help you. That's for certain. Okay, so let's just go back. Okay, so we're back to the proposal. So how can you actually make a comment? Okay, so as I've said, so let's go to housing for an example. We'll use housing because you saw the large response there. I don't know as a percentage, but I'd say that's bordering on probably 65-70% of the responses so far have been on housing. So now within housing, there is all these subsections. So again, housing distribution. So read what the council here have said about distribution, how it fits into their policy, why they are making these decisions, yeah? And then you make your comment based on that. They're obviously providing some supporting evidence, yeah, to go on. So that's there. So literally to make your comment, you would add your comment here. Now, depending on how you've done this, how you've set it up, you should just literally, you'd put Mr. in. I'm not an organisation, I'm just an individual. You don't need to do that. You have your email address, you've got your postal address. You literally would make sure you agree to the terms. Okay. Why isn't that? Let me just pause that for a second. Right, so I have just paused it then for a second, but the reason that I paused it is because I was missing this blue box and I couldn't understand why, and it was there. It didn't appear for two reasons. One, on all the fields marked with an asterisk, if you don't complete the field, when you get to the very bottom and you agree to both the terms and conditions regarding privacy and policy and all that kind of stuff, the next box doesn't appear. So if you don't get the next box go blue like so and become active, it must mean you've not completed a box that you've got to. Now in my instance, it was because I'm the secretary member of the Great Chelland Patmore Community Association, I selected the option that at some point I would also be representing an organisation. So because I've checked that option, then I must put in the organisation name and obviously details, which I've done. But also what was happening is, I don't know if you'll see this on the screen, but because I'm doing a screen record, the tab bar that controls the screen record was hiding the button. I couldn't understand where the button had gone, but anyway, that's what it is. So once you've done that, you click next, and it takes you on, okay, to the next page. So again, to which part of the local plan does your representation rate? So if we're talking, so for example, we're talking about housing distribution, you would literally put in here H2, okay. If you know a particular paragraph of a document that you are referring to as for example, the NPPF document or a city council document, there always have paragraphs will be numbered and titled. If you can reference it back to something, brilliant. If you can't, don't worry about it, just leave the box or just put in there that you've got the information, the reference for it. Yeah. Again, the site, we would be talking H58. Again, I personally would put Patmore in there. Okay, so yeah, your identity, and then it's asking you, do you consider the local plan as legally compliant? You answer whatever question you want. Hypothetically, you'd say no. Do you believe it's sound? No, because you're going to have obviously an argument. Do you consider compliant with duty of cooperate? So again, no, if that's the case. Obviously, I'm not saying to do that. I'm saying you choose whichever option you feel is right for your argument, your submission. You click next. So as you can clearly say, please give details. So here you can copy and paste. If you've already done something in a Word document and you want to copy it and paste it in there, no problem at all. You can here you can, this is really important, that the inspectorate likes to see, if you, this may not be the right word to use, if you pick a hole in something, yeah, if you say something isn't suitable because of XYZ, then what gives it more credibility is if you can come up with a recommendation of what would be an alternative. Now that alternative might be, as far as you're concerned, the only way forward is to remove H58 from the local plan, or it might be that you recommend that the housing number is unsustainable, it's not proportionate, and you think the housing numbers need to be reduced on that site. You might say the type of housing suggested, this is just as recommendations, is not appropriate. You think it should be more for the elderly population, for the elderly people, the over 55. So you'd like to see more, I don't know, 1-bedroom bungalows, more sheltered accommodation like West Point, or a smaller village to do with the elderly, like a community village. I don't know. These are just suggestions more than saying, well, we don't want just 800 homes, yeah, or we think 250 homes would be more acceptable on that site with the constraints that it's got and all this kind of stuff. So these are the kind of things that you can go. You can add files. So if you've got any evidence from a photograph, an image, a video, a link. Yeah, again, in your comments here, you can paste a link to something. If you found a website that links it, improves your case, or gives you, as an example, as a reference, some reference material, paste it in. Yeah. Again, you can add videos, you can add images here, you can add documents. If you've got a PDF document, add it to it. Simple as that. Okay, and obviously at this point, you would say Nesh, and then it's basically asking you that at this point here, it's asking you that if the inspector looks at your comments and thinks, "Oh, this guy or this lady makes a very valid point," yeah, I think I'd like to actually speak to her face to face. So you would get an invitation to attend a public meeting. If you wish, or you feel that, I can do this, I'm confident to do this, I could actually express myself better, which a lot of people can. They can visually talk better than they can write. If you can think you can do that, click that box. Yes, I want to participate in a hearing session. Yeah, that's definitely. And so that's there. What you would then do is click save at that point, and at that point it would save your work that you've done. Now, as long as you save it, you can go back in at a later stage, and because you haven't submitted it at this point, you've just saved it under your username on the council server. It's sitting there. Yeah, so think of it like a drive. It's just storing your information. Once you've ready to submit it, you will then see the option to say submit. Now, once you physically submit that option, so if I click save now, okay, you can now see, okay, the submit button. Okay, or again, if I want to look at that, okay, if we click that, let's just look at that comment. Okay, so you can see that it's there. All right, there's nothing in there because obviously it's blank at this stage. Okay, because I haven't put anything in, but they are my comments. So let's just go back. So now, like I say, you can view it. And it's actually telling you your comment. Let me just move that. Can I move that out of the way? It doesn't seem to be working. Typical. Yeah. So if we now go to here, I think there's an option to delete that. I'm not sure on that. Your comment has been saved as a draft, but not yet submitted. There you go. So it's down. Now, if you go up to here and look at my submissions, it should say, let's just see what it says. Okay, so you can see here, so continuing editing. Okay, and it's taking you back into the event there. So that's just my consultees. Let's just see what that says. No, obviously I haven't got that, so that's no good. My submissions. Okay, so continue. So when was that last modified? That's that. So where are we now? Obviously you can see documents that I submitted under the regulation 18. So continue editing. I would have thought, see what I mean? You would have thought that would take you straight to it, and it doesn't, does it? Which is really poor. Really poor. So it seems to me, see, once you've, this is why it's not, see what I mean? Even I'm now struggling with this, because I'm pretty sure on the regulation 18, you could continue to edit once you've made your comments and saved it as a draft, as it says it's there. To view your draft comment, click the view. But there is no view, is there? I can either download it or submit it. But I don't want to submit it because that's it. Your comment has been saved as a draft but not submitted. Fine. To view or amend your draft comments, click the view. But where is the view? Oh, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Why it's so frustrating. It's just, oh dear. Anyway, I'm just gonna pause it and see if I can find out what's going on. Okay, I'm back. So, as I said at the beginning, even I find this challenging at times, and this is slightly different to how it worked on section 18. Section 19, the layout's slightly different. So we're going back to you. If what I'm saying to you is, if you submit and you actually click and you submit your document, the moment it's submitted, at that point it's locked. You can't do nothing about it, but you can save it to draft. So if we look at the example, the two examples that I've got going clearly state, as you can see here, draft. They are draft. You can see on 18 they were physically submitted. So now this is the bad part. So this is nothing to do with the user. This is to do with whoever has designed this website, this portal, have not done a good job here. So we know if we download the PDF, and I'm going to do it to show you, and this is what you're going to have to do because this is an important part here now. So if you download your PDF, which is your comments, the important bit that you've got to remember, if you make multiple submissions now and you save these to drafts, is to get back to that draft where you can continue editing. Maybe you want to retract something, delete something, add something, hence the word editing. You've got to download the comment, and what you've got to remember is what section you're working on, because that is the important part to get back to where you want to be. Okay, so I'm now just going to go back to here. Now, what should happen is, you would think when you click continue editing as suggested, it would take you exactly back to the point where you needed to be in the consultation portal, but it doesn't. So remember what I've just said. Now, when you go back on here, it clearly, this is where it misleads you. Okay, you've got two buttons here, but when you first read this, this suggests that there will be a view comment button label. But you can't. You've got download PDF and you've got submit, but you haven't got a view. And that's what threw me. I'm thinking, well, how do I get back to that now? Add comment. But if you remember, I said to you, you must remember when you download the PDF, remember the title section that it was referring to. So it's housing and it's 7.2. So if you look here now, add comment, view comment. Now, if I click that, it takes me back to there. So anything that you put in that box, you click next, you could edit this box. So anything that you'd put in there, if you wanted to change that, you can change it. And then you go next, and then you do save again, and it saves that then as the amended draft. Once you've finally finished, you then hit the submit key. So again, you've got the save. Again, it will always ask you, do you want to participate? Yes, click save, save. So again, I will go save. Okay, thank you. And there's your view comment. That's how you get back into it. So the important bit is, so under this section 7, if you've got multiple entries in other subsections, once you've completed that, what I personally would do is at this point, don't submit anything. If you're making multiple entries, do all your entries first. and then do the one submit, and it will then do a global submit of all your entries. That's what I'm assuming. Or it might only submit the entries in that section, which is obviously 7. Now, actually, see, looking at this, see, this is what I mean. It's evolving all the time. Looking at this, the submit button remains at the top of the page. So to me, that's a global submit. So if you click submit, every document or every comment that you've got sitting in your drafts will be submitted. Yeah. So that's basically it at that point. That's how you do it. So I'm very conscious of time. This is probably well over 40 minutes now. I would have thought I've been waffling on. So hopefully you can see what we're up against. Even I've just learnt something new there, because I come into this and I was in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, this will be the same as 18 was. But it isn't. There's a slight difference. I think ultimately that maybe wants reporting back to the council, that again, my submissions, that what we're saying is here, surely if you continue editing, it should take you to that document, to the exact point where you can continue editing, not just take you back into the portal. There's no benefit to that, because unless you know where you're editing, what point is it? So not very good. But there you go. So that's it, really. So I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully people will find this helpful. I'm sorry if it's dragged on a bit, but as like all these things, once you start getting into the detail, time just runs away. So I've got to leave it there and get submitting. If anybody needs any more help, or they come across something that may need more explanation, then again, put it on the Facebook group. Let's have a discussion. Hopefully, between us, I'm sure somebody will come up with the answer. But yeah, so let's just not forget where we're up to. Let's go back. Let's just log out. Okay, so let's just log in again. Okay, oh yeah, we're back to the consultation. Yeah, so okay then, thanks guys, bye.